So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a review of Shang Chi that I saw the other day, and I got to tell you guys that I absolutely really dug this movie. I really love this film. I would probably put it, now it's kind of weird to say because Shang-Chi is very much like, it's very separate from like the rest of the MCU. Like you could definitely go into this movie not having seen any of the other Marvel movies and definitely understand and follow every single thing that's going on. He really has his own story that just kind of follows him. Yes, there are some references here and there, you know, they got to throw those in to like tie it into the MCU and everything, but for the most part, this is a very standalone movie. So if you're worried about that, or you haven't seen the other 20,000 Marvel movies and you just want to see like a crazy mysticism kung fu movie with a really high budget, I think then bam, just go see this. There you go. I'm going to talk about it a little bit just as an overview, then I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilers, but I'll warn you before the spoiler section of this video if you want to check it out for yourself. I gotta say, like I said, I really fucking dug this movie. Now, I'm a huge fan of martial arts films to begin with. I love freaking old Bruce Lee movies. I love the old, you know, the Wu-Tang Collection, whatever it is, films. I love old Jet Li movies, Jackie Chan. Like, give me Tony Jaa, the Raid movies. Like, give me fucking kung fu movies. So I'm all about that. I'll definitely say that. Actually, let me start with this. I'll say that I think this movie is definitely, for me personally, it's within like the top, if you're considering this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is definitely like towards the top of my favorites. Like this movie was really good. I was actually surprised by how good it was actually. If this was been like one of the first MCU movies ever, I think that maybe Shang-Chi would probably be as popular as Thor or Iron Man or any of those characters if this was like a phase 1 movie, because this guy, like, he's extremely relatable character, understandable character, really good story, great villains, great side characters. I think if I put this up with the other MCU movies, I'd probably still put like you know, maybe like Infinity War, Guardians, and like the first Avengers up, like my favorites. Doctor Strange is in there too. I'm a huge Doctor Strange fan. But then I'd probably put Shang-Chi like around that area, like before those first top 3, then I'd probably put Shang-Chi in there. I thought the action sequences were some of the best that we've seen in the MCU. Now, don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted. All right, the action scenes, the fight choreography, the martial arts in this film is definitely on point, and it's definitely like fantastic to watch, really fun to look at. But there are a lot of like CGI elements kind of incorporated in with it, and I would say that like you know, it does, I mean, it is like a superhero movie. It is a Marvel movie, so there are definitely scenes of exaggeration when it comes to the fight scenes and everything. Like, they're not necessarily obeying the laws of physics per se. However, I gotta say, compared to the fight scenes in pretty much any other MCU movie, especially Black Widow, which I think was the most recent one that was like, you know, really up close, shaky cam, yada yada, Shang-Chi definitely lets you see all of the action. It pulls back, the shots are longer, you can actually see it's the choreography, you can actually see the actor is the one doing most of the action, and you can actually see like multiple, I mean, they have like Tony Young and you know, other actors, that have been in, you know, more action heavy movies before, that definitely know this world and know the world of action and fighting and choreography and everything. And so I was mostly appreciative with how much care they put into the actual fight scenes and action sequences. Like I said, I'm a huge martial arts movie fan, so being able to see a martial arts film but on the scale of a Marvel film with that higher budget, with sort of you know, the extra impact they can add in with the special effects and everything that's involved with the MCU and whatnot, adding in that kind of fantasy and mysticism into it, I thought that was fantastic. Basic story revolves around, and this isn't the spoiler, this is just like a basic plot outline, but Shang-Chi, of course, is the descendant of this character up here, played by Tony Young, who is, of course, the real Mandarin character from Marvel, which they sort of teased in Iron Man 3, but they didn't really do it right, and I think there was something like they were worried it was going to be like racist or something. I don't fucking know what it was, but anyways, so that made a lot of fans mad that they didn't actually have this Mandarin character, so now he's here. He trained Shang-Chi, but Shang-Chi left and sort of spent like a lot of years away from like the assassin ring and everything. And he's sort of like trying to live normal life, and of course gets pulled back into the fray when his father has this ultimate objective that he's trying to achieve, and Shang-Chi gets mixed back up into it, and he has a girl that's like his best friend. I don't know. I think they should have went further into making them lovers. But anyways, so side character is played by Aquafina, who has a very distinct voice, as you'll recognize. And she also has like a weird rap song where she talks about her vagina. I don't know if you guys ever saw that song, but I thought she was good. There was a time early in the movie where I was a little bit worried she was going to become obnoxious, like a very like cringy side character. But I think they played her very well. She has some good humor moments, but she doesn't like take over the film, and that's what I was worried about. But I think they played her just enough, just in the right moments, and she helped sort of ground the movie, because a lot of times when you have characters that are very fantastical, you got to have a character that's more down to earth, more grounded, that sort of would give the reactions that like the everyday person, or basically the reactions that the audience would have. You got to have that sort of character, and she sort of represented that. I think she did a very good job with that. There's also Shang Chi's sister. I can't remember her name. She was really great in the movie, and a couple of other characters that pop up along the way, along with the villain, of course. I'm just gonna call him the Mandarin. I don't know. I don't really think it's racist, but you could tell me in the comments. And he was amazing as well. He definitely, I think, was probably like towards the top of the MCU villains, I would say. Like, I think he had a really great motivation. I think he had a lot of depth to him. I think he had a lot of good characterization. You understood where he was coming from, and he was sort of one of those villains where it was like you definitely feel for him. Like, he's not just like an evil guy, he's got layers to him, he's got depth to him, and he's gone through struggle, he's gone through pain, he's lost things in his life, and so there are things that led him down the path to doing what he's doing. And I think that that really, really helped intensify the battle between father and son, because you definitely got more of a sense of character from the father, because you understood from like a father's point of view. I'm trying not to spoil the movie. Sorry, I'll get into spoilers here in a second. But you definitely understood from like his point of view what he was trying to achieve, and it made sense. The other thing I want to say is, so this movie's called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And so what I really, really loved also was how they handled what the 10 rings were, because this movie was not about the 10 rings. And this movie was not about a MacGuffin of these 10 magical things that solve every problem. And this movie was not about Shang-Chi obtaining the rings. This movie was not about Shang-Chi and the Mandarin fighting for the rings. The rings just happened to be there. So I really, really love that aspect of it. Basically, the rings, this isn't really a spoiler, again, just a plot outline. There are these magical, mystical items, not explained where they came from, does not matter to the movie, doesn't matter to the plot at all. But anyway, so the Mandarin has had them for like 1,000 years. Basically, if you have them, you're essentially immortal. But they're not so overpowered. They're not like an infinity stone. They're not so overpowered where you can like do anything. It's just there's a lot of things you can't, like you can use it to, power up a punch. You can use it to sort of like use like a whip. You can separate the rings. You can send the rings flying off your fist, and catch them on the other hand. You can put all 10 rings on one hand and deliver like a super powerful punch. There's one where he uses the rings to sort of like blast off the ground. He doesn't fly, but he sort of like blasts off the ground, and then he uses it to sort of like cushion his blow on the way down. So it's more or less like just items that sort of enhance your power. The only real powerful thing about them is, giving you that like immortality essentially. But like, when it comes to fighting and battle and things like that, the rings really just sort of amplify the skill of the person that's wearing them. So it doesn't make you this unstoppable god. You actually have to be able to know how to fight. You have to be able to use them, to be able to utilize them, like attune to them and things like that. So I really like that. And like the whole movie, like Shang-Chi, he didn't give a fuck about the rings. Like, he knows the rings are a thing. He knows his father has them. He knows that that's, where the name comes from of his whole like, terrorist organization, like the 10 rings and stuff. But like, that's not Shang-Chi's story. Shang-Chi is not about like trying to get the rings. It's literally this story about like trying to find his place, trying to incorporate what he learned from his father, what he learned from his mother, trying to pull that all together and then like figure out who he is and what he wants to do. And the rings are just there. They're just like a magical item that exists, but they're not the focus of the movie. I thought that was so good that they did that. I'm so happy they didn't make it a MacGuffin. I'm so happy they didn't have like a magical 10 more rings. So it was like, the 20 rings, like 10 versus 10. Like, I'm so glad that they used them in a very conservative way. I thought that was great. There's a lot of amazing backstory as well with Shang-Chi as a child. And the end of the movie just goes batshit crazy in a good way. And so, yeah, I can't say enough about like how good this movie was. As far as like comic book films, the Marvel movies, and stuff like that, I really think that this one is actually one worth checking out. And like I said, it's one that you can watch without seeing all the other Marvel movies. Like, you can definitely, like I said, there's some references in there, sure, but this is Shang-Chi's movie and Shang-Chi's movie alone. If I had any negatives about the movie without going into spoilers, I mean, I would say that, like, again, like, because there's sort of this status quo of Marvel, like, the movies all kind of look the same, so, like, the cinematography, even though the fight scenes are done very well, you know, there's not a lot of differentiation in, like, how the shots are set up as opposed to any other Marvel movie. So there's that. But other than that, I mean, I don't think I really have any negatives in the movie. I think the humor worked really well. So yeah, so that's my spoiler-free review. I really love Shang-Chi. Great fight scenes. I love the mysticism in it. I think the actors all did a great job. Definitely worth checking out, in my opinion. So all right, so now getting to spoilers. There's some freaking awesome things that happen in this movie. Now I'll talk about the Mandarin thing again really quick. So I don't remember a lot from Iron Man 3. I only saw it once. But I do remember that, like, the Mandarin was supposed to be the villain, and then it turned out in the movie to be Ben Kingsley's character. He was just an actor pretending to be the Mandarin. And I can't remember the reason for that. I don't remember if it was because they thought calling him the Mandarin was, like, racist or something. There was something, I remember at the time, I can't remember now, but I remember at the time there was some kind of conversation about, like, that. And I don't know if that's really a thing or not, but if it was, like, because it was racist or something, I don't know. I didn't cancel every movie. I have no idea. But I loved how this movie brought that character back, and basically, like, the actual Mandarin, like the Tony Young character, captured him and was like and basically, like, kept him, like, down in the dungeon. He was, like, gonna kill him or something like that. And then Shang-Chi winds up finding him, and he's sort of like, and then that character is the one that leads them to the Mystic Village at the end of the movie. So I really loved how they brought that fake Mandarin character back and kind of tied it all in. And it brought justification to him just being an actor, because then you go see Iron Man 3 and you're like, I wanted to see the Mandarin in a movie. What the fuck? Well, now you have him, and he's in a much better movie that is much more focused on his story as opposed to just being a random villain in Iron Man 3. So it works so much better. Also, yeah, like I said, the Mandarin character, Tony Young, freaking phenomenal, fantastic. I loved his story. So basically, he's like this 1,000-year-old warmonger that was, like, doing, like, basically, like, taking over so much time because he had the rings, he's immortal and stuff. And he finds, he goes to, like, this mystic village. I forget the name of it. You know, in his, like, world conquest, and winds up falling in love with, I can't remember the actress's name. I don't know who played, you know, Shang-Chi's mom, the wife character of the Mandarin, but Jesus Christ, she's beautiful. Holy crap. Like, absolutely drop dead fucking gorgeous. And so she's sort of, it sort of ties in a lot of philosophy of, like, martial arts, of, like, being in the calm state, not being tensed up, accepting what, you know, being one with the universe. Kind of reminds me of Vagabond. My sword is one with heaven and earth, because, you know, this character, you know, he's very direct. You know, he fights with a clenched fist. He's very focused. He kind of fights in a straight line, whereas I can't remember her name. I'm really, really sorry. But the character that winds up being his wife, Shang-Chi's mom, you know, she's very, like, at one or at peace with how the universe works and how the earth works, and she sort of flows. She does more of, like, a Tai Chi, sort of, like, flowing with the wind, flowing with the earth, and, like, being natural. So whereas the Mandarin is very, like, unnatural with these mystical items fighting, you know, forcefully, she's very, like, circular. You know, she's very sort of, like, in tune with the energy and everything, if that makes sense. And so they sort of, these opposites sort of attract, and I really like their relationship. And I really liked all of the backstory with him willing to put the rings away and sort of, like, willing to grow old with her. I think that was a really beautiful thing. And, of course, we're in the spoiler territory now. So, of course, when his wife dies, you know, him immediately reverting back to the warmonger self that he was, you know, wearing the rings once again and going for vengeance. And that scene was done so amazingly, where he goes into the diner and beats the shit out of everybody, and the camera turns and you see young Shang-Chi watching, and then, like, the one character, you know, you see the reflection in the mirror of him just, like, wrecking shop. And I thought it worked really, really well. I thought it worked very well for his character. He was probably my favorite character in the movie, really. But I also really enjoyed Shang-Chi. I kind of liked his sort of aloof nature when him and Aquafina were sort of best friends or, lovers or whatever. They should have pushed that a little bit further. I wish they would have, like, shown them, like, kiss or something. Like, you could tell that there was something, chemistry was there. I don't know if they just wanted to keep them platonic or something, but I feel like there should have been more. But we'll go on. I like how she was incorporated too, like I said. The Ben Kingsley character, I liked how he was incorporated. And then the end of this movie was freaking crazy. I loved it. I didn't know I was going to get kaiju in this movie, but I got fucking kaiju in this movie. So I got these huge motherfucking dragons coming out of the ocean. You had the mystical dragon, and then you had like the bat-like dragon, the demonic dragon creature, which I freaking love the design for that. Whatever, it looked like a bat, but like a dragon at the same time, and it could suck your soul out. It was freaking badass. And like, there's a moment in this movie where I was like, well, they've introduced this concept of this gate, keeping back this like evil dragon thing. So I'm like, they can't not have this in the movie at this point, so it's gotta come out. And so when it did, I was just like, oh, hell yeah. So you get a dragon fight at the end of this movie. You literally get two dragons fighting each other at the end of this movie. It's great. And I also liked, again, his motivation. He believed his wife was still alive because he loved her so much. Like, he loved her so much, he was willing to put away these rings that literally made him immortal. Like, that's how strong his love was. And so you can understand, at least where he was coming from, that he would want to get his wife free at any cost. And when I loved how when he realized he was tricked, he saved Shang-Chi, and then he sort of like relinquished the rings over to him. So like I said earlier in the review, the movie was not about Shang-Chi getting the rings. That was never a goal for Shang-Chi. It just happened at the end of the movie when the Mandarin realized, I fucked up, but you're doing the right thing, son. I love you. I'm sorry, whatever. So it's like, these are yours now. I'm bestowing them down to you. And I thought that was great, man. I thought that was great how they did that. And so, like, Shang-Chi only has the rings for, like, the last maybe 10 minutes of this movie. And so the majority of this movie is just him. It's just himself and his skill and him trying to do the right thing. So I thought that was great. My favorite action scene, of course, was on the bus, which is early in the movie. Just like a casual like fight scene that sort of drops out of nowhere. Really, really great. Fantastically done. And then obviously, at the end with dragons, dragons fighting each other. That was great. The only scene I wish there was a little bit more of was he does go to this like fighting ring, and you get a little cameo of Wong from Doctor Strange and the Abomination, and they're fighting each other. And it's kind of cool, but like I kind of wanted him to fight more in that ring, and I realized like for the story of the movie, it would have been pointless to like waste time in this location because this wasn't what the movie was about. But just bringing up the concept of this like underground fighting ring with superpowered characters, just that concept alone, I just want to see more of that. So I was only disappointed that I didn't see more of that because I love the concept so much. But I understand because that's not what the movie was, that we weren't going to linger there. So that's my review, I guess. I don't want this video to be too long. So I love Shang-Chi. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments below if you saw it. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and comment because it would help me in the algorithm, and I'd really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being supportive of the channel and everything. I love you guys so much, and many more great things to come. And let me know if you like this video too, because I do want to start doing more movie reviews also. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it, and then that way it'll help me to do more reviews in the future. So thanks, guys. Peace out. Hope you have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you next time.